You have kids. Right?
No kids.
You don't have kids?
No. Why do you think I'm so happy?
Hey guys, make sure to check out the Bert and LeeAnn bundle, the best of both worlds bundle at BertBertBert.com for $40 today.
That's right. Check out the best of both worlds bundle with Bert and LeeAnn stuff starting today, $40 a bundle. Thank you so much for coming today, Daisy.
Oh my God, thank you for having me.
My whole office has been so excited that you were coming.
Oh.
You are an icon.
Oh,
you really are.
Thank you.
So many things you accomplished in the world in the 90s or before.
Well, I kind of started in 89. So, yeah, I guess we could say the 90s.
I'll say the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, MTV VJ, what I find really interesting about MTV VJ, which is where I first was introduced to you, is my kids have no idea what that is.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes. I had Kim Alexis on, who's pre-supermodel,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
And my kids didn't know what a supermodel was either.
How's that even possible? So many good things that we had in our generation that that your kids, for example, will never even know about. Like, we're the last generation that knows what it's like to have to go home to actually receive a message.
Mm-hmm.
We're the last generation who went through life with no technology.
Mm-hmm.
That is quite an achievement.
It's quite a statement, right?
Really
because the waiting you have to learn.
Yes.
You have to wait for everything when we were kids. And
Well, you also have to learn to rely on figuring stuff out yourself.
Mhm.
Like, you can't just depend on, let me just follow this map without how many people have driven off cliffs just following a map?
yeah.
You've heard of that, right?
Yeah, like a Google map.
A Google map
Yeah.
that doesn't realize that there's been a change in the street. People just don't pay. We had to pay so much attention to everything.
We did.
Otherwise, you would be completely lost. And many times we were, but we would figure it out. And I think that makes for a much stronger and just a better rounded human.
I think
Don't you
so
think?
too. I think it makes it much easier to cope, right? Because if you got lost in the neighborhood at night trying to get home, that's so stressful and scary. But you, like you just said, you figured it out. So not only did you figure that out, your body figured out how to manage that stress.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess the flip side of that is what I see is that kids these days don't take as many chances
No.
because it's so public,
Yeah.
right? So if I made an idiot of myself, only my other idiot friends saw that. Nowadays, if someone makes an idiot of themselves,
You
8
can't even
million
say,
people.
you can't even tell them, oh my God, you were such an idiot. Which
No, you
I feel
can't.
like with my friends, it was like a thing. Oh my God, like, you're such an asshole. What are you doing? Like, that was a thing.
yes,
And then you would either be like, oh yeah, I am being kind of a dipshit, or like, no, check out what I'm doing, you know?
yes.
It's like, I think we had to be more resilient with everything emotionally and just in life in general. And there is something good about that.
There is something good about that. I said this the other day. I saw on Instagram that this young generation are having like club nights, but they start at like 5 p.m. and go to 10 because they need to sleep.
Oh my God, they're like 60-year-olds.
Right?
What is that?
And I'm like, I was out till 5, like washed my face and went to work in the same outfit, right?
We would take disco naps,
Right?
so that we can go out and get back just in time to go to work.
Yes. Yes. And we're like, let's go. How hard and how fast can we go? And these kids are like, oh, if I don't get enough sleep, I'm going to have an anxiety attack. And then I can't. Someone said to me yesterday, they had a new employee that was young, and that employee told him she needed a brain break.
Oh.
That in the middle of her workday, she just needed a brain break.
Oh.
Which is bad. I shouldn't talk negatively about this generation. They didn't get the
No, I don't
opportunities
think we're talking negatively
No.
about it.
Observatorily?
Yeah, I think that we're just kind of observing and making note of the differences
Mm-hmm.
and some of the things that maybe we could maybe teach a short course on resilience and on just, life. I think that a lot of it is not really even the fault of the generation. It is the parents who have created really, really a way too much of a safe space for kids. And so feelings that are normal as adults in life, when they do feel those, they feel so foreign, almost like it's not okay. And I think, and I do think that this is being taught, where it is okay to feel the feelings, all the feelings. It's all part of life. And I think that technology has a lot to do with the anxiety that is out there in the world today. So it's not really blaming the generation. They are, after all, part of their problems. They're just victims of their environment, of their circumstances. And hopefully moving forward, we can, maybe that generation will make it better for the following one.
I hope so. I hope they learn that this sounds harsh, but I think it's somewhat true. Feelings aren't necessarily real because feelings aren't necessarily based on fact.
Right.
A feeling feels very real.
Right.
And should be definitely considered and thought about and felt. But at a certain point, you have to go, hold on now, what is the fact? And let's adjust our feelings based on that fact, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think so.
I think it's important to acknowledge a feeling. Anything that you feel is worth acknowledging and really truly feeling that feeling. But I think where it gets tricky is realizing you're thinking about that, the way you think about that feeling. And a thought is just a thought. It can be changed.
Totally.
And once the thought is changed, then the feelings change.
Right.
So I think it's important how we learn to think about things and see things. And maybe there are some things that, you know, the younger generation can learn from Gen X and our, you know, badassery.
Our badassery. I just went to a sketch show this weekend, and the very first sketch was making fun of Gen X. It was two people in an office.
Yeah.
And they were, it took me a minute to figure out what the sketch was about. And I went, oh, they're making fun of like my generation. That's what's happening. So it's two office workers basically going, so yeah, I've made a list and I'm going to take this list. I'm going to go to the store. And after I shop, I'm going to get all these things. I'm going to put them away. And then I'm going to work out. And then I'm going to get oil changed in my car. And then I'm going to do this. And he's like, oh yeah, let me tell you what I've got going on. And it was just like this fire hosing of how fast their brains were working. And I was like, oh, that's me. That's how my brain works. And that's how a lot of people in our generation work. We're like, I feel like we're doing 18 things at one time joyfully.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we really had no choice for the longest.
Right?
We had no choice.
No choice.
And the difference is that you can make fun of us. We can take it. We don't give a shit.
Don't give a shit at all.
Don't give a shit.
Don't at all.
And I think that that's important.
I think it's really important. I think it's something to be learned from. As Bert was talking to me the other day about reading comments, because I read my comments and I welcome comments.
Yeah.
Positive or negative, really.
Yeah.
Because life isn't just positive. It's both.
Right.
And I don't have to agree with the negative. I also don't have to agree with the positive.
Exactly.
So bring it all on. And the negative ones that are ridiculous, I'll go like, that's hysterical. Like someone once called me a skank. And I am the furthest thing from a skank. I am not a skank. So to me, that was the funniest thing ever.
Seriously.
It would be like calling me a turtle.
Exactly.
So I was like, why would I get offended?
And I think that's a really important point about getting offended in an era where everything is offensive to everyone.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I heard an analogy that was really good. Like if someone says, oh my God, your purple hair looks ridiculous on you, you're going to be like, I don't have purple hair. And you're going to think the person is just crazy for mentioning that. It's the same thing about anything else that they say about you. It shouldn't affect you unless you truly believe that in some way about yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. So when I think about you, Daisy, the first thing that comes to mind is happy and light.
Oh, I love that.
So my memory of watching you is that.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see you.
Oh, I love that.
I felt like I knew you, even though I didn't know you. And your essence is so pure.
Oh,
thank you. As I remember watching you, right?
I think that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said.
Aw.
Really?
I mean it. As I was thinking about, so many people have talked to you about your career and your life and everything. I So find that somewhere else. But I just wanted to reflect on that. And I wanted to ask you why that is. Is it from, is your mother like that? Is it something you learned? Is it something you worked on? Is it just who you are?
Thinking back to the MTV days, I was so young and I was so inexperienced, not just with television, but with everything in life in general. You know, I came to this country when I was 8 years old. I didn't even speak the language. So I've never been the most confident. I have never been the most self-assured, like never really had goals or ambitions of being on television or doing any of the things that I did. So when I got the opportunity, what I was able to do, which is what I guess comes from my parents, is recognizing an opportunity and not passing it up.
Right.
So I didn't really even have the time to be fearful about what it all represented. And I guess being that young and being of that era, you were just fearless. You were like, well, what do I have to lose? And I wasn't privy to all the negative comments because we didn't have social media. And that is such a plus because I can totally see how a young person these days can get overwhelmed by just seeing nothing but, you know, people criticizing everything from your appearance to your performance to what you say to everything. I can see how that would affect you. I didn't have any of that.
Right.
So I showed up just kind of being my silly self. And I thought, I wasn't smart enough to be like, oh, let me portray myself in a really smart manner. Let me see how I can come off as really sophisticated. I was just, the only thing that I knew was to be exactly who I was at that moment, which was just, I was like this, you know, silly, excited young girl from New Jersey. And that I think came across.
It did.
You know, and what I lacked in professionalism and in expertise, I made up for in enthusiasm and just being genuine, I guess. And I think now looking back, perhaps a lot of my peers saw that and identified with my silliness or goofiness or sometimes the mistakes that I made or the things, my lack of knowledge in certain areas. What I did have and what did get me my MTV gig was my love of music all across the board. My knowledge of different genres, whereas a lot of the VJs at that time had their specialized era or their specialized type of music genre that they loved, that they were an expert at. I kind of went all across the board. Like I would listen to Latin music and rock and pop and everything. So that's, I think, the main reason. It's just my love and excitement for music that got me in. And then I guess they were just hoping I would learn how to handle, you know, a TV studio.
Well, enthusiasm, I think, and purity go a really long way. I think in almost any industry, not just in you know, the entertainment industry. I think in almost anything. If you're pure of heart and
I agree.
You know, and you're enthusiastic and you are hungry to learn. I would rather have that person in a lot of circumstances than someone who's really seasoned. I
agree. You know, I still, and I've had to kind of check myself a little bit because now I'm aware that we're living in a different era and that you do have to think a little bit more of how you speak and the things that you say because like we were saying before, it's so easy to offend people. But I've come to the conclusion that I don't really want to be so I don't want to overthink the things that I say because I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to have opinions that are not popular. All I know is that I'm coming always from a good place. I am never looking to offend or to discriminate or to make someone feel less, or I am never coming from that place. Yet I might, without even meaning to, but that is part of the human experience. You know, you can say things that come out wrong and then all you can do is say, oh, that's not how I meant it. And thank you for telling me that. I will rephrase it the next time, but you know, no big deal. Like I'm not looking to change who I am or the way I speak just in order to not offend anyone. Of course, I'm going to offend some people. We're human. We all have different opinions. And I think that keeping that authenticity gets more and more difficult the older we get.
I don't know. I don't know if it gets more and more difficult. I think it gets, as you get wiser.
Yeah.
the negative piece of being wiser is that you're wiser.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, because ignorance is bliss, I guess, in a way.
Exactly. And when you're more apt to know, just to keep to your point, what might offend someone, so then it makes you more cautious.
Sure. And of course, we are all more aware of the things that are no longer okay. There was, we have evolved, and I think evolving is part of. It's part of being human, and it's part of being wise and getting wiser. And there are a lot of people who refuse to evolve, and that's not okay.
I agree.
But I think we all have to kind of adjust a little bit, evolve with the times, and acknowledge all the good that this generation has shown us and how far we've come, especially for women.
Especially for women. Yeah, I agree. Your intention and your impact are different, right? Sometimes your intention is just to be friendly. Sure. And if you misspeak something and your impact is not that, I think what you're saying is your intention is always true.
Yeah.
And if you have impacted someone negatively, that's something that you can fix.
Sure.
If you have a negative intention,
you got
I think
that
problem.
Comes across also, though.
With you, it does.
I think that comes across.
Absolutely. Yes. You're still a beautiful light. Aww. I mean, you're beautiful. You've always been beautiful. But
thank you.
Beauty is really even more beautiful when you're beautiful inside, and that enthusiasm and the light.
Well, back at you.
Well, I don't know. Well,
100%.
Thank you. But so I read through all that you've accomplished in your life. Holy cow.
Oh, you think?
Yes. You have like clothing line, shoes, the shampoo. You have, you launched MTV Latino.
Yeah. MTV Latin America.
Yes. Yeah. And you've Miss Universe pageant. You've hosted things, America's Funniest Videos, which I watched you on that all the time, by the way. That is what actually, to me, that's what Instagram is now.
Exactly.
It's exactly the same, except I had a host.
Yeah. And we gave away tons of money.
And you gave away tons of money.
That was the best part of that show, is giving away the kind of money that would change people's lives just for making us all laugh.
Yes, I bet.
Yeah.
And then you do all your charitable work with St. Jude and breast cancer.
Yeah,
is that
and
right?
Humane Society. There's so many great organizations out there that you kind of, there's too much. So you pick and choose the few, at least I do. I pick a few that I can promote publicly, a few of them that I have researched and I can really stand behind. And then there's all the other stuff that you do privately, but it's nice to have this platform to be able to tell people, hey, look, this is an organization that I have researched, I've worked with, I personally, know how it runs. And if you're interested in helping out, you might want to look at this one. And I think we all do really want to help. But we're all really cautious because there's so many things that are not legit. There's so many organizations that you just, to put your hard-earned money into something, you really want to know. And I think that's where we can help. We can kind of say, oh, we personally know we worked with this organization. And so that's one of the highlights of having a bit of a platform.
Yes, that's a great way of looking at that and presenting that to people. To say, if you like me and you believe in me, then you can believe in these things that I stand for. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Of all of the things that you've accomplished professionally, what was the most exciting or the one you're most proud of? Or
professionally, I think going back to the 90s, not being aware of my limitations as a minority in this country helped me a lot. I always saw my being Hispanic as something extra that I had. I spoke another language. I came with a whole other culture, even though I always felt very American. I kind of described myself one time as, black beans and apple pie. So it's a really good mix of both because I feel very American, but my culture, my roots are so who I am. And I think it's a great mix. And I never saw it as, this is where, again, ignorance is bliss. I never saw it as a problem. And it really did only help me. I do realize that is not the case for many, many minorities. But I was able to not look at it as something that would hinder me. And because of it, I was able to be the first in a couple of areas that I wasn't even aware that I was doing. Like when I was getting signed to a Revlon worldwide contract, and then a journalist pointed out to me that was the first time that'd been done. Or, when I was simultaneously hosting shows in Spanish and in English from one studio to the next. And one was going down to all of Latin America, and one was in the US in English, that nobody was doing 2 shows simultaneously in 2 different languages for 2 different continents. And I was like, is that really a thing? Yeah, I guess it is. You know, it's important in opening doors. I can see it now. But I guess it was the not being aware of some of my limitations. I see that as a highlight. And also taking a chance on branding when branding was something that nobody wanted anything to do with. So I started my brand in 2004. Just as a licensing side project, and people were looking for brands to address the Hispanic consumer in the U.S., and where many people were like, well, no, I don't want to be limited, or no, I'm just an actor, I don't do that, or I'm just a singer, I don't do that, or I'm a model, I don't do that. I saw it again as an opportunity. Again, going back to what my parents taught me, you know, don't toss aside any good opportunity, like always investigate it. So I thought, well, this is something that I do already for other people. I represent brands. I'm a model. I promote other people's brands. How great would it be to have my own thing with my name on it that I could also promote as well as other things that I do? And I really just saw it as that, as maybe a hobby that turned into a really full-blown business.
Wife of the Party is brought to you by Lumi. Lumi's whole body deodorant is safe to use anywhere on your body. Pits, underboobs, thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, vulvas, and feet. It was created by an OBGYN who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Lumi is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Lumi has a solid deodorant stick, formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts. Sweat control deodorant, 72-hour odor and sweat control for pits, privates, and beyond. Spray deodorant, aluminum-free and ideal for hard-to-reach places. All products are baking soda-free and paraben-free, pH balanced for safe use below the waist. Choose from a variety of fresh, bright scents like clean tangerine, lavender sage, or toasted coconut. I love lavender sage. I don't know, it's just my favorite. I keep talking about this, but it's the truth. I bring the deodorant wipes with me to the gym. I take them with me on trips. I love the deodorant wipes because a quick little swipe, and I feel fresh and clean and like I can tackle my day and not offend anybody. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with your exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off their starter pack. Use code WIFE15 for 15% off your first purchase at lumideodorant.com. That's WIFE15 at LUMEDEODORANT.com. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Lumi. Sounds like you're really close to your family, to your parents.
Yeah, I've lost my dad. My dad passed. Thank you. Yeah, we're all at that age now. We're getting to that age where it's, you know, it's tough. I'm seeing it in all my friends. You know, we're becoming caretakers for our parents, and a lot of us are losing parents and losing people close to us. So that's, you know, the one thing about getting older, and you know, it's just part of life. Makes us stronger, I guess.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have a younger sister. She's awesome.
Aw. Does she live out?
She lives in Miami.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she's really close to my mom, who also is not doing well now. And it's nice to know that she's close to her. And I spend as much time there as I can. I mean, I still think that family is worth nurturing and taking care. That's the most important thing. So my favorite thing in life is just to spend time with families, to create family vacations at least once a year where we can all be together.
That's really great.
Yeah.
So when your family left Cuba, you were 8, did you say?
We left Cuba when I was 3 and went to Spain. Yeah, to Madrid, because it was we left under political turmoil, of course, escaping full-blown communism on the island. We were able to get away because my mom was from Spain.
Oh, okay.
So she still had her Spanish passport, and we were able to go to Madrid, where we lived for 5 years, almost 5 years before we came to the U.S.
Just your little family, or?
My sister was born there. My sister was born in Madrid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But no other siblings for your parents, just your family?
Just us 4.
Wow.
Small family. We're close.
So did you have aunts and uncles that were still in Cuba? Or?
I have one aunt, my mom's sister, who now lives in Marbella in Spain. But at the time she had left and she was with my grandparents in California.
Okay.
So we all kind of left Cuba however we could leave. Whichever way was, you could escape at that time, you did it.
Was there any part of Cuba that you felt your parents brought with them and inserted into your life?
All of it.
All of it?
All of it, yes. It's funny because I'm probably more Spanish than Cuban, but it's in my blood. I mean, it is all in my blood. And when you get to know the two cultures, they're so intertwined. Cuba and Spain, it's very much in there. I feel very much Spanish and Cuban.
And do you have kids? Right?
No kids.
You don't have kids?
No. What do you think I'm so happy?
I love my kids, though. I
know you do. I know it's fantastic. I know.
Hold on. That's amazing you don't have kids.
No.
Okay. Secret time. I love my kids. Yeah. I'm really glad I have my kids.
Course.
I would never have made a different choice than what I made.
Of course.
And at the same time, I didn't plan on having children.
Really?
No, I did not. All my listeners know this. I got pregnant on the pill.
Yeah.
When Bert and I were dating. Huh. So when that happened, I felt like that was divine intervention.
Sure.
If I'm actively trying not to get pregnant and I get pregnant, I have to pay attention to that.
Of course.
Much like your family's opportunity.
Of course.
I believe that's the way
100%.
The universe
sign
talks to you, right?
Yes.
This is your path. So, but I really had no plan of having children. And I have a couple friends who don't have kids and I go, what a fantastic life that is. You have that 20 years of just like rolling your sleeves up and oh my gosh, how are we getting through calculus?
Right?
It's so stressful.
Yeah. Well, I'm fully convinced that I would not have had the career that I had if I had kids.
You wouldn't have, I agree, because
I would not.
You would have made your kids your career.
And as much as I know that, and hats off to the women who do both, who have a career and, do much more important things than what I was doing and also have a family. There is no doubt that one always suffers a little bit. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt. And, in any relationship, no matter how good and how present the father is, not much changes in the father's life.
Right.
He goes right back to work maybe in a week.
You're right.
And life continues as if nothing has changed for the father. Sure, he has more responsibilities. Sure, he can be more present than most dads. Sure, you can be an excellent dad. You cannot compare that to what a mother has to change and how much a mother has to be present and how much, everything depends on the mother.
Mm-hmm. And how much it wrecks her body.
Oh, yeah.
If you have your own child, like biologically have your own child, it just wrecks your body.
Well, everything, emotionally, physically, it is, I think it is so underestimated and so taken for granted that, because we're women and because we just do this naturally that, you can be, whatever, you're just some brilliant professional and also be an excellent full-time, always present mother. That's so much pressure to put on a human. Mm-hmm. And I think it's impossible. I think we have to acknowledge that one will either your children will miss you a little bit or your career will not advance the way it would have. Were you able to give it 100%?
Right.
And you can't give it 100% if you're also taking care of children.
That would be 200%.
Exactly.
You can't do that.
Right.
It's exactly right.
Right.
It's exactly
But
right.
my choice to not have kids had nothing to do with what I was doing.
No.
Yes, I was very busy and I was very independent and I was enjoying my life. So I felt very, very complete. I didn't feel like I was missing anything. Mm-hmm. And I was married very young. I was 23 when I got married to my high school sweetheart, pretty much. Mm. And of course, that didn't last. We were together for 4.5 years. We didn't have kids. I was working very hard. He was finishing school. So that didn't happen. And then I had a couple of other long-term serious relationships where, of course, I could have chosen to have a child in either of those relationships. But there was always something in me that thought, if this doesn't work out, is this someone who you want in your life for the rest of your life? Mm. And the answer was always no. Mm. Is this someone who is going to you're going to be able to work with and share a family with and co-parent with? And the answer was always no. So that always kind of took over.
Gave you pause.
And I think it was a lot of the societal pressure that made me think that I would always want to have a child. My answer was always that, oh yeah, I'll always, someday. And I think it was right before my 40th birthday where I thought, you know what? I'm okay. Like, I don't want to have a child, especially not now as I'm getting older. And the relief and the weight off my shoulders was so liberating because I always felt like I needed to do that to feel. And a lot of that pressure is brought on by other women. There were women who would say to me in one breath, oh, congratulations on your career. You've achieved so much. You've done this. You've opened doors for that. And but one day you're going to find the right person. You're going to have a family and then your life will be complete. And I always thought, fuck off.
Right?
No, my life is complete. I have no doubt that I would be a great mother. That would be a wonderful thing to happen in my life. But I chose not to do it. And it doesn't make you any less of a contributor to society. It doesn't make you less of a complete person. I have my nephews. I love them dearly. I feel a sense of I feel motherly towards them, but in a much more fun way. you know? So I think that society needs to still today catch up to that.
To calm down.
Yeah.
Just calm down.
Yeah,
right?
Just relax. We don't all need to. In fact, some of us are doing really great without kids.
Right? Well, now that we're just empty nesters, just like, maybe 2.5 weeks in, we're having so much fun.
Right?
That if I apply that to your experience with your current husband, who I met recently and is the most fun ever.
Yeah.
I just imagine you guys have so much fun.
We really do. We really do.
How could you not have fun with that guy?
And you know what? If I had met Richard when I was younger, we're convinced we would have had a family. We would have had children.
I would believe that.
Yeah, because we were kind of just waiting for each other all our lives.
The right person.
At the right time.
At the right time.
Yes, is everything.
Is everything. And Bert was my right person at the right time. And I kept going, no. I mean, he's right, but are we getting married? I don't know. I didn't have the ticking time bomb either. And I was like, not sure I want to have kids. Not going to do that. So I think God just went, snap out of it.
Right.
Move forward.
And look, Richard has 3 grown boys who I love. They're amazing human beings, all of them. And so he had to be with the right person at the right time for those children, So they, he speaks wonderfully of his ex-wife and they're a great family unit. And I'm now lucky to be able to have a piece of that. I share, they all live near us. We share a lot of time together. We travel together. We spend a lot of time with each other. So I'm very blessed to have that, to have gained a new family along with a new husband.
Well, I had a stepmother.
Yeah.
And what I think is really amazing about a step-parent is when they love a stepchild, it's a choice.
That's right.
When you have a child,
that's right.
You have to love it.
Yeah.
But I felt loved very differently from my stepmother.
Right.
And it was, I don't want to say better than my parents' love, but it was definitely different.
Yeah.
And it was important in a different way.
Yeah. Because you realize the pressure on the step-parent to not overstep, right?
Yes.
But to still want to protect and to still want to guide and advise. And you've got to really tiptoe that line.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You do. And yeah, you do. My stepmother was very good at that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of maturity.
Yeah. So I come at it with a lot of respect, knowing that they don't need my advice or my help. They don't need my mothering for sure. They've got a mother who is a wonderful mother and they love very much, but it's nice to have support.
Yeah.
To have, just an extra.
Who doesn't want someone else to love them?
Exactly. Exactly.
So, Richard is adorable. He cracked me up. Okay, a big fan of his music. I could sing all of his songs, when they were here. And I just had no idea he was so funny.
He's pretty funny.
He's so, that what?
He's a little bit of an asshole. For
he
sure.
is?
Yeah, he is.
Well, I didn't find him to be an asshole to anybody but Rig. And I figured they'd work that out.
In a funny way.
In a funny, positive, like rib each other. Like they might be brothers.
Exactly.
Kind of bully, but not bully, positive. Yes, he was lovely and hysterical. And I kept thinking to myself, you who, as I said, are so full of light, met this guy who's so full of fun. To me, what I saw was fun and a little rascally.
Yeah.
A little devilish is a little too strong, but like rascally.
Yeah, you could throw that in there too.
He's just a little bit dangerous.
He's a little spicy.
But not dangerous and like, I'm going to go off the rails.
Completely.
Just like, let's do something a little, naughty today for whatever that might be. But what a cute, adorable, amazing pair you are.
Thank you.
Yes.
I love that.
So do you mind telling me how you met?
Twitter.
What?
I know.
Wait, you met on Twitter?
Yeah. It happens.
So did you just start like chit-chatting?
We were following a mutual friend, Martha Quinn, one of the original DJs.
Yes.
So we were both friendly with her, and they were going on about some music stuff. So I jumped in on their chat and said, oh, you guys are giving me like a great 90s flashback. And then he jumped in, he said, hey, Daisy. And I was like, oh my God, it's actually Richard Marx. I didn't even realize who I was responding to.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, we started following each other. Now we're on each other's radars. And, after about a year following each other, he DM'd me, of course, and invited me to some show he was recording at the Grammy Museum. So I was like, what a flex. I don't need your tickets. So I call up my publicist and say, hey, so Richard Marx has invited me to this thing and I don't want to accept his ticket. I want to just tell him I got tickets. She's like, oh, I represent him. Like, how do you not tell me this?
Right.
So it was a lot of little coincidences there. And also the fact that we come from the same era. We have videos of me introducing all of his videos on MTV in Spanish and in English.
That's so great.
Yet we never met during that time.
Yeah, you never met. How crazy.
Well, he was married. I was married.
Yeah.
We were both, we had completely different lives. And I think that, again, the universe was kind of protecting us from a shit show.
Well, what it was probably doing was ripening you, so to speak.
Yes.
So that
we would not have been ready for each other at that time because I was a bit sassy and a bit like not. I had a lot to learn at that time still.
You think so?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was a little hot-headed and I was a little too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that started tapering off, and then his.
I think you have to go through some things, some relationships in order to appreciate. You have to go through some negatives. You have to realize what your deal breakers are to appreciate something that is what you want when you see it.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you totally.
Yeah.
We have a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old, and I've told them both, your 20s are all learning. It's not just college. It's dating. It's getting your heart broken. It's breaking someone's heart. It's getting fired.
Mm-hmm.
It's having to quit a job. It's changing your career entirely. It's cutting your hair too short and looking like an asshole for 6 weeks or more. All of that is what you're supposed to be doing in your 20s.
Yeah.
So when these things start unfolding, you're on the right track. So if you don't date and figure that out, what happens 20 years from now when you're with that person? Maybe you're lucky enough to have met the right person. That happens, obviously. But I know for my 20s, I was doing exactly that.
Yeah.
I was going, that's a deal breaker. I don't like, and that I ask the same questions you ask. Do I see myself long-term with this person with kids? One of the big indicators for me was Bert and I were so broke when we first started dating. Our dates were like $10 Domino's pizza and Scrabble. And I thought, if I can do that and have a blast, I can do anything.
Right.
And I just watched the way he treated other people, and I thought I could have kids with that guy. I like that. I could do, even though I wasn't planning on having kids. But that same thought process, like how you treat others matters. That's how you would treat. How would you treat a 5-year-old? How would you treat a niece or nephew?
And what is your attitude? What is your emotional stability during struggling times when you don't have all the things and all the comforts and luxuries? You know, are you still having fun? Are you still able to love and share? That I think is the most important. So to be with someone when they haven't figured it out and to really admire them as a human, I think that's really important.
I think so too. It sounds like you both had been through multiple long-term relationships, marriages, children, and then came to this place together. Yeah. Was there a moment where you went, this might be my guy?
Yeah, I don't remember what that exact moment was. Because he was really aware of the fact that and especially when he met me, I was in a really kind of annoying place where I thought I don't need anyone ever again. Like I had built such a great life for myself. And I thought I was open to relationships and to dating. And I was, but I was a little jaded. I was like, at my age, like I know better. Why would I want to get married at my age? I know I'm not going to have kids. The last thing I need is another contract in my life.
Right.
You know, I thankfully, fortunately, don't need anyone, but I always did like relationships and I thought I was open, but I made it very clear to him that I was not into marriage.
Right.
So the minute that he saw a little bit of a window, he went for it. And, you know, and when he asked me, the first thing he said was like, I'm going to ask you something and I just want you to know there's no wrong answer. You know, and I remember telling him, you know, this isn't, at some point I said to him something like, I didn't think I ever wanted to be married again. And I really don't. I have no need to be married, but I want to be married to you. Like I want to be family. I want us to be family. And that was everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I want us to be family.
Yeah.
Because that's really, Bert and I talk about this a lot. He's my person.
Right?
I'm an only child. He's my person.
Yeah.
I came here. I didn't realize my job in this life was to find my person until I found my person.
That is so great.
And that's what my life is about. It's about my person and the kids we had and his sisters and parents and my dad. And my person and I have just made this world that we cherish. And
that is everything.
It is.
That's such a great way of looking at it. Because that's really what it is. You create your world and you make everyone involved. All your people and his people, and that become each other's people. Now you have this nucleus, you have this support that you couldn't have built it if you two weren't really strong, really, really aware that you are each other's persons.
Yes, I agree. And, you know, we weren't always not fighting. We fought.
I think that's part of life.
Yeah. We weren't always like each other's favorite person.
Of course.
For a minute or two. But at the core, I think we're so blessed and lucky that we had the wisdom to recognize it.
Yes.
Same thing you're talking about. Now, I know you said you learned from your parents, you know, to recognize opportunity, not say no to a good opportunity. Where do you think that came from? Where did that come from?
I think that came from the fact that my parents, my mom had me when she was 19. They were very young parents. When I talk about them leaving their country, their home country, and moving somewhere completely foreign with nothing but the shirts on their backs, literally, because they were not allowed to take anything out of Cuba. That kind of them realizing that leaving, even under those circumstances, was an opportunity. That's important. Then being able to leave Spain again to go to New Jersey and move in with my parents, with my grandparents in an apartment in Newark, New Jersey. That was also an opportunity. So seeing, like I learned by example. When my mom was offered the chance to go to school in New Jersey to learn computer programming and at the same time learn English, and that they would place her with a job. It was a government program. When she realized that after her 8-hour-a-day job, that was an opportunity that she had to take. Those are all the things that stay with you. That's what I was learning.
That's your family culture.
Yeah.
That's just your family culture.
Yeah.
What's beautiful about that to me is that almost anything in life is an opportunity. It just depends on how you frame it and how you approach it.
That's right.
Right?
Things can either be a problem, something that you hate, or you can view it as an opportunity. You know, it's the difference between I have to go to the gym or I get to go to the gym.
It is, you know, it's either I grew up, you know, cutting firewood for fireplace. And now I think how much I learned from that.
Right.
And I was excited to do it because I got to spend time with my dad. So it was an opportunity.
Of course.
As most people would go, chopping wood, oh my God, that's such a pain in the, you know, that's very hard work.
It is.
But how you view, I wonder how, because that's your family culture, I wonder how as a person who grew up without that as their family culture can learn that. Like how much effort would have to be put into adjusting the way they think to learn that. That afforded you your entire life.
Yes.
The ability to recognize something as an opportunity.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think a popular opinion is that to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth is a privilege and that you're so lucky. And I think that that is extremely difficult. I think it is much harder to grow up privileged than to grow up having to learn and having to do for yourself and having to find opportunities and make the most of everything, having to work hard. I think that is where the real win comes in the end.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Our daughter is, we didn't get really successful until they were in high school. So they grew up a little bit in the Domino's Pizza Scrabble era of our life together.
Right.
And then as we got a little more successful, it got a little less and a little less. But I was always, you know, shopping at Target and, you know, my handbag was from Target and we drove our cars for 10 years and that's how they grew up. Obviously, there are much bigger struggles in life than that.
Sure.
But what's interesting to me is our 20-year-old who's in college just got a job as like a line cook in a restaurant because she wanted to work at that level of a job.
That's brilliant.
Now, she's worked for us in our company as a PA, and she's had other jobs. She's been babysitter. But she wanted to work.
That's great.
And I respect that
so much.
I'm so proud of her for having that value system. I'm hoping came from us in some capacity. We're very hardworking people. But, you know, as a 20-year-old who really doesn't have to pay her way through college, who's driving a really nice car, doesn't have to be a line cook and make rice all day and, you know, like a Hawaiian restaurant. She doesn't have to do that.
All the things that you learn from that. All the things that you learn from that about yourself, about people, about responsibility. And it's so important.
It is.
I can't say enough about how great it is to struggle a little bit, to find your way, you know, to have to go through a little bit of that, even though you really don't have to.
So let me ask you this then. As I read through everything everything about you online, I know you were homecoming queen. You got this opportunity very quickly from MTV. Where were your struggles?
Oh, I don't.
That sounds like an ignorant question.
Yeah, I don't really. I don't see any of the struggles. I can't really sit here and tell you that I've struggled compared to what I see today in the younger generation. Yeah, there was struggle.
Well, I'm sure you had some struggles, but even if it's
I don't consider it struggles.
I'm overbooked. Like I have no time to sleep.
Oh no, I didn't see it at all as a struggle. I can't sit here and say to you, oh, I struggled with this or I struggled with that. It was just part of life. All the things that I had to deal with and learn and overcome, I don't see them as struggles. I see it as part of life. And yes, a lot of people had it a lot worse than me.
Sure.
Even people who were much more privileged than me
had
things, you know, struggles worse than mine. I just never saw even though I can look back now and see that my parents were struggling, they never portrayed it as a struggle.
Right.
Ever. I never heard them complain about not having money, even though I know, you know, like you said, like my mom never shopped at a department store. She would get secondhand clothes or she would shop at the super discount or, you know, my mom still, to this day, if I ever gave her a gift certificate to like Neiman Marcus, she would complain like, oh my God, do you know how much I can get at Ross for this? Like, why are you giving me this? Like she still always has that mentality. So I love the fact that my parents never showed me a struggle. And I think that that's part of it. So I would not say that I struggled. I didn't have it super easy. I didn't come from privilege at all. Mm-hmm. But we all came a long way and we all did the best we could. And, I think that some of those hurdles are what made me who I am. They give you character. They give you strength. They give you resilience. They make you who you are. And if you never have anything to deal with and you have nothing but comfort and everything handed to you, there is no sense of accomplishment, of growth, of self, of pride. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a lot of what's going on these days with the younger generation, that you're not supposed to have any struggle. Mm-hmm. Now, in my old age, I'm looking to lean more into the comfort. You know how people are like, oh no, you should get up and you should get out of your comfort zone and you should do a cold plunge and you should do this and in the morning and you should run. And I'm like, I'm just looking to get more into my comfort zone right now. I've done all of that.
Yes, right?
I want to get up and have my coffee, sitting by my pool, getting some sun. I don't want to answer emails right away.
Right.
I've earned that shit.
Yes, you have.
You know what I mean?
You most certainly have earned all of that. So before the camera started, we were talking about value and how that was a good conversation.
Yeah.
So all the things that you're talking about, all these accomplishments with the hurdles and with struggles in some sense, I guess, to overcome things and accomplish, right? Builds an intrinsic value, right? So I get asked this on through emails and stuff a lot. If you don't know where your path is, how do you find value, right? If you are someone who's working at a job they don't enjoy because that's what they need to do to support their family or themselves, how do you find value in yourself and in what you do? Not even what you do as a career, but what you do in your day-to-day.
Yeah.
How do you think, what advice would you give someone who asks that question? How do you find value?
Well, I struggle with that a little bit myself because I don't feel like I've ever had purpose. I don't feel like I've ever had a clear vision of what my purpose is in life. I've done a lot of fun things. I have been privileged enough to have these great opportunities that have turned into good businesses, good careers. I've learned so much. That was never my purpose. Mm-hmm. That was never something I set out to do. Those were just great opportunities that I made the most of, that I ran with, that sometimes I turned into better things. I don't feel, there's so much talk these days about finding your purpose in life. And I think that is not serving a lot of people because not everyone has these amazing opportunities. Most people in the world have to work jobs that they don't necessarily like with bosses that they can't stand, but they do it. They get through it. They make it work because they have to make a living. Mm-hmm. I think that is brilliant. I think that having the strength to deal with that with grace and to still make a good life for yourself and your family is more important and more brilliant than the person who feels like they found their purpose through painting, or they have the talent of having a great voice and they became a singer, or you're a great writer and you become a published author. And that's all great because you have a talent, you found your purpose, and you do it. The majority of the people don't have any of that. I don't feel like I have that. So I've been doing a lot of soul searching myself. And look, I'm going to be 58 in November. I can't
really believe that. Okay. I'm going to need to see your ID. 58?
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. But, I'm approaching an age where I should be thinking about retirement. Mm-hmm. And there's a part of society that makes me feel like that's not okay. Like I should still be accomplishing. I should still be doing and contributing. And most of us don't have that thing. Mm-hmm. I think that real purpose, when you don't have the obvious thing or the obvious opportunities, or you're afforded, the fortune of following, becoming an artist or becoming something fabulous or, finding the cure for cancer or whatever it may be. Most of us forget that the real purpose in life is working on yourself and becoming the best human that you can possibly become and make the world better for the people around you. It's that simple. To just be and exist in this world is a bigger challenge than most of us can imagine. Just to exist and to say to yourself, well, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have anything that is going to change the world, anything that is going to impact a huge number of people. I just want to be able to impact the people around me that I love. I want to be able to help my family, to help my friends, to be there for my friends, and to always be evolving and to be the best version of myself that I can be. I think that is the real purpose in life. You don't have to have this big, grandiose, accomplishment. Most of us don't.
I love that. I love everything you said.
Thank you.
That was beautifully said.
Thank you.
Because I think you're right. Our main job is to be a better person.
Yeah.
When you're a better person, it makes everyone's life around you better. Instead of
what better purpose than that?
That was so beautifully said.
Thank you.
I love that. That's exactly right.
Thank you.
I totally agree. So I grew up very blue collar. And blue collar mentality is very different than white collar mentality.
Sure.
Is very kind of family, community.
Yeah.
How do I help my community? The first thing they ask is, who's your family, not what do you do for a living?
Right.
Which is different in the white collar community. Nothing's wrong with the white collar. It's just very different.
Yeah. I love to ask people, what do you do for fun?
What do you do for fun? What do you do for fun?
Oh my God, I do so much. My entire life is about having fun.
I love that. That's not retirement. That's work in and of itself.
Exactly. It's really difficult to plan great vacations for my family.
Let me know next one. I'd love to go. No. Is that what you do for fun?
Yes, that's what I do for fun. I love to spend time with my family. I love to travel. I love to travel with my husband. My husband tours the world. He gets to go out on stage for like a public that has been waiting for him, and he gets to walk out on stage to screaming applause. And I get to sit there and plan, where we're going to dinner after that and where we're going to go have a drink and, what is going on in this little town that I've never been in that you're performing in. And that's fun for me. The fact that I, at my age, now have the love of my life, have found my person later in life. I don't take any of it for granted.
That's so
and
great.
I have fun with all of it. And I think that part of my purpose in life right now is to really continue having fun and continue evolving.
Right.
And then I think other things will come. I hope that there are more things that I can contribute to either, the entertainment world or in the business world, or I hope that there are more things. But if there are not, that's fine. That doesn't make me any less accomplished or fulfilled or,
You've done a lot.
And even if I hadn't, I think the point in life is to make the best of your life with the situation that you're in. And I think that that's where you shine as a human being.
I agree. And the number one thing I think people, maybe not number one, but one of the key things people miss is you may have more choices than you realize you have.
Yeah.
To really evaluate what you think your choices are. Because sometimes there's some hidden in the shadows.
Yeah.
You go, I could choose to take that position at work, work a little harder and feel better about myself or help someone else do something better. Choices are everywhere.
100%.
Recognizing the opportunities, like you said.
I think back to when I was living in Harrison, New Jersey, and I was going to high school, and my parents, were both working full-time jobs. My father was working 2 jobs, working for my grandfather and for himself, doing side real estate businesses that he could. And I had a part-time job working at a store called Mandy's. It was the Mandy shop. It was a retail shop. There were a bunch of them in the East Coast. And after school, I would go work there. On the weekends, I would work, 8 or 10-hour days. During the holidays when I was off from school, I would work 10, 12-hour days every day because it was so busy. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have thought like, I can't believe I have to do this. I can't believe I have to go to this shit job. I want to do something more fabulous. I so enjoyed having a little extra money to buy myself a few cute things to wear to work. And I was so into it that I was offered the cashier job right away. I was trained to be a cashier. And then before I graduated high school, I was offered an assistant manager's position. They were going to train me for that. And I seriously thought about it. And I thought, oh, is this something? And I knew that if I would go that route, I would be regional manager like within no time. And I thought, no, I feel like there's something else for me. Like I want to do something else, even though I realized what a great opportunity that was and how I would take that opportunity and run with it, But I think back to that time and it was one of the best times of my life. I think of it with such joy and happiness.
Well, isn't it interesting to take a job that doesn't mean anything to you? I was a waitress for 8 years.
Yeah.
And to take that job and give it meaning.
Yes.
To give it purpose, for lack of a better word. I was a writer, and as I was writing, I waited tables, and I would show up to that job grateful.
Right. And you
Really
would be
grateful.
a really good server.
I was. Excellent.
Right? And isn't that something? Isn't that really an accomplishment?
It was. I learned so much. I learned stuff I use today from serving.
Yeah.
And to just approach that job, knowing that job afforded me the life that allowed me to write. You have to make a living.
Right.
And so you can make a living miserably.
Right.
Or you can make a living with gratitude.
Again, it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. Why not give it your all? You're doing it anyway. And to be considered really good at doing something that isn't really something you want to do, that's quite an accomplishment. That's an achievement.
It is an achievement.
Yeah. It says a lot about your character.
What is your favorite part of yourself? Physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever you want. What's your favorite part of you, Daisy Fuentes? What's your favorite part?
Gosh, I guess my strength, my resilience, and my compassion and kindness. I'm proud of all of that.
What's your favorite thing about your husband?
That he loves me.
I love that. That's right.
I love the way he loves me.
He adores you. He spoke so highly of you.
I love him too. I just adore him.
Not just, about every part of you.
Yeah.
He's still, I don't know how long you've been married.
We're going, it'll be our 9th wedding anniversary in December.
It seemed to me like you'd been married 6 months. From the way he just like oozed.
It still
adoration.
does feel very new to both of us.
It does.
Yeah.
I think.
What's your favorite part of Bert?
Of Bert? I love his joyful spirit.
Yeah.
He is just joyful. I had my best friend one of my closest friends on my wedding day had never met Bert till our wedding day because he lived in Florida and we lived here. And we got married in Georgia. He'd spent, the rehearsal dinner watching Bert, and on my wedding day said, he's about 9 years old. So if you can let him stay 9 years old,
that's the best.
You'll have the best life ever.
Yes.
But the minute you start saying, could you be 18? You're going to be really unhappy. It was probably the best advice I've ever gotten. I think I knew that.
Yeah.
But sometimes when someone says what you know, it makes it really solid. And I feel like oftentimes I'm married to a very fun 9-year-old. Every day is fun.
Do you know how difficult it is to not lose the child in us? That's a tough thing to do. And the fact that he's able to freely let it out is a gift.
It is so fun.
It's so fun.
He's really fun. And I love the way he loves me too.
Right?
He loves me very much.
That has to be the most important thing. You can think that somebody is, the end all be all, the most wonderful thing on the planet, which I do believe Richard is. I think he is like incredibly talented. He's a great human. He's funny. He is all of those things. But at the end of the day, if he didn't love me, like truly love me in a wonderful way, in a healthy way that made me better and stronger, then what is the point of him being, it doesn't matter.
Agree.
So the most important thing for me is the way he makes me feel and the way that he loves me.
Yes. Bert, I definitely have the same thing. That's my, besides his childlike quality, is he does love me. It's not something I've ever doubted. From literally maybe our second date. He just called me every single day, not joking, every single day from basically the first date, really every day. And
I always tell young women, when they ask or people ask for advice on, dating and any of that, I always say the importance of that, of how a man makes you feel. Mm-hmm. And if he makes you feel like you could be 100% yourself and loves you and accepts you through all of that and makes you even better, like makes you believe more in yourself than you already do, that's what you want. Mm-hmm. Like why these people, and we've all done it, I've done it, why you chase someone who you doubt their interest in you. Mm-hmm. That is the most ridiculous thing anybody could do.
That or they make you doubt yourself.
Yes.
That relationship, for whatever reason, you allow yourself to doubt yourself because of something.
Because of their insecurity. They need you to feel like you need them for some reason.
Yes. Or that your ideas aren't great. Or that your body's not XYZ. Or that so-and-so likes me more than you. Or all those things.
Those are deal breakers.
They are total deal breakers.
Total deal breakers. And so I think that that's one of the most important things is how you feel in someone else's presence. If you feel like you are at your best, like you've got total support, like you're fully loved and admired, why would you want to be with anybody who makes you feel any less than that?
I agree.
There are billions of people on this earth. Why would you not? Why would you want to be with all of those?
Right. Value yourself more than that.
Right. There are so many people who can make you feel great and who you can love. And, it's great to find that one love. Mm-hmm. And it's not the one that treats you like shit.
It definitely isn't.
It definitely isn't.
I know for me, my advice would be to women is to be open to that person coming in a package you don't expect.
Exactly.
Because I did not date anybody that looked anything like Bert Kreischer. All my boyfriends before him did not come in that. Yeah. I don't wear a shirt. I don't wear shoes. Even though that's how I grew up in Georgia, I was dating very kind of put together guys. Right. And then I, in retrospect, went, I was only about 70% myself because I grew up barefoot in the woods, playing in the dirt, ratty hair as a kid, but would never show that part of me to those polished guys. Right. Until I met a guy who took his shirt off, wore flip-flops, and I went, well, I can take my shirt off and wear flip-flops too. Not really, but figuratively. Okay. So I was shopping. I was shopping at Neiman's when I'm really more a Bloomingdale's kind of person. Gotcha. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought, well, you're supposed to get stuff from Neiman's, but that isn't really me.
100%. And it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't make you a better person or realizing who you are and who makes you really feel at home all the time is everything.
It's everything. And they just might not be in the package you're shopping.
Yeah. And I always also say, even if that person makes you feel good, make sure that they're adding to your life. Like, don't get with someone who is going to subtract from your life, because that's also very different. And that's when you get into a little bit of like, okay, let me be smart here. Yes. Because this guy makes me feel great, but oh my God, I have to babysit him and I have to take care of him and I have to, that's not good either. Mm-hmm. I was talking with a friend on my way here and I said, another really important thing is to have your independence. Mm-hmm. Even if you both contribute to your life, to your savings, to your home, always have your little nest egg because it never feels good to fully depend on someone. Mm-hmm. To know that you have your own money and your own independence, should anything happen, makes you that much more fond of what you're in.
Interesting. I don't need that because Bert doesn't know where our money is. He couldn't find it.
That's good.
He has no idea.
That's smart.
But I will say the babysitting part, we could improve on that a little bit. I did marry a 9-year-old teenager.
Right.
So
right.
as you're saying that, I went, huh.
No, I don't mean babysitting that way. I don't mean in that way. You know what I mean.
But he's perpetually a child, and I'm perpetually picking up his shoes.
Oh, that's fine.
So that's what I mean. I'm just
you
joking.
pick your battles.
You pick your battles.
And shoes are not a deal breaker.
They are not a deal breaker.
Picking up laundry and, that's not a deal breaker. That's something that you do with love because you appreciate your person. I'm talking about deeper issues.
Yes, I know. I'm just making a joke. For everyone who listens, they know that I complain a lot about Bert leaving his underwear and his shoes. And
I think that's part of it. I think we have to all complain about each other a little bit, because if you acknowledge all the little things that you complain about and still love each other through it, then you're good.
And then we're both human.
You're good. Yeah.
We're both totally human. Well, this has been such a nice conversation.
I loved it.
Did you? I hope so, because I loved it. It was a great conversation.
Let's go have a drink.
Well, please. I would love to have a drink sometime.
Yeah.
But thank you for making the time.
Of course.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being
having me.
Open and sharing, and I appreciate it. And I'm so glad to meet you.
You too. Same. You're awesome.
Oh, well, thank you.
And so's your husband.
Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.